Donald Trump just picked a fight with a country that I don't think he expected to fight back. That country is Canada. And this time, Canada's not backing down. Canada is calling Trump's bluff. Now, the threat was 50% tariffs on Canada, our neighbor, our ally, the country whose soldiers, fought next to us in Afghanistan. And the thing about Trump's trade war strategy is that it can work to scare people right up until the other side calls Trump's bluff. And Canada called Trump's bluff. Early on Saturday, the U.S. slapped 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods after these last-minute talks in Washington, D.C. collapsed. And Canada's just like, we're just not going to take it. And they are retaliating with dollar-for-dollar tariffs starting on September 8th. Now, just a few days earlier, Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney sort of seemed like they were close to a deal. Of course, Trump was like, we have a deal. And all caps, exclamation point. And it completely fell apart. And Mark Carney says that it fell apart because Donald Trump tacked on these last minute demands that had nothing to do with trade and everything to do with just controlling our allies. Tariff treatment on Canadian made vehicles and restrictions on Canada's ability to sign deals with other countries. And this is the part that's really kind of wacky. They went after Canada's language and culture protections, bilingual product labels, and French language media rules, just completely whacked out of this world egomania, which we've kind of become accustomed to from Donald Trump. And Mark Carney's response is pretty savage, which is that the signature of the United States today is sort of written in pencil. It's not written in pen. And here is Mark Carney. What the hell is wrong with Trump? I mean, seriously, here is Mark Carney speaking in French with almost simultaneous translation about these recent demands.
This was not our choice. We were there. We were ready and close to having a comprehensive agreement that would be fair to both countries. We were close to that happening. And it seemed that we were close to reaching a comprehensive and fair agreement with the United States. But they made changes, including threats on the French language and Quebec culture and Canadian culture. That is not acceptable. That would never be acceptable.
Seriously, who does Trump think he is with this stuff? Trump has spent a year floating Canada should become the 51st state. And he goes, we don't need anything from Canada. We don't need their lumber or their energy or their cars, all stuff which is factually insane. American farmers get 80% of potash fertilizer from Canada. Northern states run on Canadian hydropower. Midwest refineries are built on Canadian crude. And part of why gas isn't more expensive right now actually is thanks to Canada. And Trump goes in there negotiating like they need us and we don't need them, but we very much need them. Now, you could go, well, they'll also get screwed. Right. But who do you really get that much pleasure out of someone else getting screwed if you're also getting screwed by your own president? It's like, I'm fine with our president screwing Canadians. Yeah, but are you fine with our president screwing you? And so what will happen is prices will go up on both sides of the border. Whiskey, hockey sticks, dairy, steel, appliances. Every small business that imports from Canada will get hit really hard because you pay the tariffs up front. When you import, you pay the Canadian company for the stuff, you pay the Treasury the tariffs when the stuff hits our border, and then you have to go and sell the stuff, or if they are raw materials, transform them into finished products and then sell them to somebody. And the part that the Trump administration really doesn't want you thinking about is that the midterms are in November, and you've got voters furious about the cost of living. And Trump is creating a new price spike on purpose 90 days before an election that should hand Democrats the House. Even Ontario's premier, Doug Ford, who's a conservative, said that Liberal Party member Mark Carney is right to walk away because it was a bad deal. It's a bad deal for our auto and steel industries. This is them speaking, right? For Ontario's auto and steel industries. And you have a situation where right-wing Trump has pissed off Canadian conservatives who are now saying good for the Liberal Prime Minister for standing up for Trump the doofus. So something has really shifted here. Now, geopolitically, Trump has built the trade doctrine, if you can call it that. It's like, so sometimes the word doctrine or strategy is a little bit generous, but to the extent that there is a strategy or a doctrine here, Trump's built it on the idea that everyone is eventually going to fold. However, China didn't fold. They hit back on rare earth minerals. They got Trump to blink. And now Canada's not folding either. So Trump said trade wars are easy to win. He thought trade wars would help the United States long term. He's got a trade war, and he's got one with the ally that really had every reason to or to put it a different way, he's got one with an ally that Trump had every reason to play nice with. And instead, Canada has decided that enough is enough, and they're not going to allow themselves to be pushed around any further. And the bigger issue here is that it's getting too late to fix this stuff before the November election. Now, my only concern, I hate to even bring this up, but we just kind of have to name it for what it is. My concern is that not enough people will understand why things are the way they are and say, well, I'm going to vote accordingly. And there's a long history of this in the United States when Obamacare first passed, and it included something called the Medicaid expansion, which state governors had to do. There were Republican governors who said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do the expansion. And when the midterms of 2012 came, you had a bunch of Republican voters in red states who said, well, I'm really mad at Obama because I didn't get health care. And of course, the reason they didn't get health care was not because of Obama. It was because their state governor, a Republican, said, we're not going to do the Medicaid expansion. So blame can be a fickle and tricky thing in American politics, but the landscape is one that should be brutal for these Republicans. The bigger story we're going to move on to now is, how does Trump react when his bluff is called and he is embarrassed? And that's what we're going to go to next. The brutally hot weather we have has a way of exposing malfunctioning underwear. You take one long walk or commute in the humidity, or you're in a studio like this one that's overheated one day, and suddenly it's the sweat and the friction and the readjusting. And this is where Sheath underwear is a game changer. We have a sponsor, Sheath. They just make great underwear built around a pouch design that will separate and support. It'll reduce skin-on-skin contact. It'll eliminate the chafing when things get a little sticky. Their lineup includes 5 or 8-inch boxer briefs. They've got trunks, base layers, socks, and more. You can get bamboo. You can get modal, cotton, airflow fabrics. The airflow fabrics are designed to be cooling and breathable, whether you're moving around or just lounging around. And Sheath's bamboo and modal options are built for soft, comfortable daily wear. You might be doing morning errands. Maybe it's a late night show you're going to. So during these blisteringly hot months, don't just crank up the fan and hope for the best. Upgrade your first layer. Go to sheathunderwear.com/Pakman. Use code Pakman for 20% off your entire order. The link is in the description.